He was famous. He was a star. The kind of career in entertainment that many Americans dream of. But he wanted to serve. He'd done many USO tours in Iraq, in Afghanistan, Bosnia, but they were simply not enough. He wanted to do more. He wanted to speak louder, especially for those folks who don't have a voice. So Al became a United States Senator. And while many Americans may still think of Al Franken as a talented comedian when they see him, I can assure you that that is not what Al Franken is today. I have a front row seat where I have gotten to know this man. I have gotten to observe him in moments of crisis, in moments of pressure, in moments that really matter. I have watched his work on behalf of the underdog in America. His preparation, his work ethic, his intellect, and his tenacity. He has a great talent, all right. His talent is knowing the right question to ask in the right way at the right time. He knows how to shine the brightest light on wrongdoing and malfeasance. He is a truth seeker, and no one in the Senate does it better. His wit and humor in the cloakroom may be a welcome distraction from us on nights that we're voting through the wee hours of the morning. But don't mistake his wit and humor as any substitute for his heart. He agreed to come to Missouri tonight to help us, but he also agreed to work all day long, helping us raise money for my campaign, crisscrossing the state. And after Joseph had his heart attack, Al insisted, in the most unselfish way possible, of doing all of that today without me by his side. It was Al, working KCI and Lambert, flying back and forth, doing events, and we had a very, very successful day of fundraising on the campaign because of this man in his heart. This room is full of so many of my dear friends, and I consider it the best part of my work that I've had a chance to get to know so many of you well and have that bond of friendship. But I will tell you, all of the friendship in this room is also reflected in how I feel about the man who is here tonight to motivate us, to make us understand that we're not done in Missouri as Democrats. We're just getting started. Please welcome my friend, Al Franken.
How about Claire, huh? And Claire, everyone here gives our love to Joseph. I told Claire to tell Joseph that what happened to him happened exactly to me. Exactly the same thing, and I'm just great. And Claire said, it did? And I said, no. Just tell him that. I'm going to make him feel better. I want to, it's great to be here in St. Louis. I love this town. Second time here in the last few months, actually. And I want to thank you all for being here. And I just also, on behalf of everybody, thank the kitchen and the wait staff for how well they take care of us. Thank you. What a great team you have. We had a great day today. I was in for a couple events in Kansas City, flew here, a couple events here. Just Claire's team is great. I've done these in other states. This is a great team. And Emily Wagner and Stephen Weber, who I met when I came out here for Jason Kander, doing an amazing job. Let's hear it for them, please. Most of all, I want to thank you, Democrats, for being here. And I want to send you a message. I want you to know that Democrats nationally are going to be here for you. You know, this was, this past cycle was bad here. It was just bad. But we have to remember that 6 of the 8 statewide offices for November were held by Democrats. This is a purple state. This is not a red state. And, you know, I've watched Missouri, and I've watched over the years, and Stephen talked about this in his opening. This happens. This has happened in this state where Republicans win, and they think, okay, that's it. We're a red state. And then it ain't. And you come back and you win. And we surprise them. Want to be surprised. So thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of the values that we share as Democrats. And thank you all for the work that you're going to be doing over the next 367 days to keep my friend Claire McCaskill right where she belongs, fighting for the people of Missouri and the United States Senate. I thought I'd start tonight by telling you why I'm a Democrat. I was born in 1951. I grew up in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, a suburb of Minneapolis. My dad didn't graduate high school. My mom didn't go to college. Dad was a printing salesman. My brother and I grew up in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And I felt like the luckiest kid in the world, because I was. I was growing up middle class in America, at the height of the middle class, in Minnesota, in St. Louis Park. And that meant that I felt like I could take a risk. I could bet on myself. And it was almost like a birthright back then, if you were willing to do the work, that your kids would have a chance to do better than you did. Now, of course, that birthright didn't belong to everybody. The middle class promise wasn't true for every family, especially families of color. But it was true for mine. and it was true for tens of millions of others. We were not rich, we were not powerful, we weren't connected, but I still grew up believing that I could do anything that I wanted to do. Anyway, I went off to college, and the first week of my freshman year, I met my wife, Franny, at a mixer. We've been married now for 42 years. We are so sick of each other. No, we're very happy. We have 3 grandchildren, and I'd like to spend the rest of my time tonight sharing some pictures. Just kidding, I have a point here. You see, Franny's family wasn't as lucky as mine. When Franny was 18 months old, her father, a decorated World War II veteran, died in a car accident on his way home from his shift at the paper mill. Franny's mom was widowed at age 29 with 5 kids. The youngest, Bootsy, was just 3 months old. But the family made it. Thanks to Social Security survivor benefits. But it was tough. Sometimes they had the heat cut off in winter. This is Portland, Maine. Sometimes, often, there wasn't enough food. But they made it. All 4 girls went to college. And they went on combinations of Pell Grants and scholarships. At that time, a full Pell Grant paid for 80% of a public college education. Today, it pays less than 35%. Franny's brother, the only boy, went into the Coast Guard, where he became an electrical engineer. And when Bootsy, the youngest, went to high school, my mother-in-law got a $300 GI loan to go to college. And then she got 3 more loans, and she graduated and became an elementary school teacher. And because she taught Title I kids, poor kids, she had all her loans forgiven. Every single member of Franny's family became a productive member of society thanks to their hard work and their sacrifice and their grit, sure, but also thanks to Social Security and Pell Grants and the GI Bill and Title I of the elementary and secondary education. You know, they tell you in this country to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And everyone in this room believes that. But first you have to have the boots. And the government gave Franny's family the boots. And that's why I'm a Democrat. Yeah. Now, as Democrats, we don't all agree about every issue all the time. Claire and I don't always come up with the same solutions to the problems we face. We don't always vote the same way on every bill. We're a big party for room for a lot of different perspectives, but the thing that unites us is that we believe in a country where opportunity is for everyone. Yeah. not just for those at the top. That's what makes us Democrats. We believe that the middle-class family, like the one I grew up in, deserve to have some real economic security. So kids like me can grow up feeling like they can do anything they set their minds to. And we believe that families like Franny's deserve a fair shot to work their way into the middle class. And then it's up to us to make sure that they have the boots. Most of all, we believe in fighting for the middle class and those aspiring to join it. That isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Because that's how our country always does. How it's always worked, that's when we're at our best. My friend Paul Wellstone, the great senator from Minnesota, who passed away 15 years ago. I hold Paul's seat in the United States Senate. Paul had a perfect way of putting this. He said, we all do better when we all do better. And it's so simple. It is so profound and so true. We all do better when we all do better. It's almost like a haiku. If I knew what a haiku was, I do not know what it is. So that's why I'm proud to be here with all of you Democrats, and why I am so especially proud to be here on behalf of Claire McCaskill. Let me tell you why. I've been a Democrat a lot longer than I've been a senator. I wrote books, I had a radio show, and like you, I showed up at a lot of events to support candidates and causes that I believed in. But one thing I've learned since getting to Washington is that being a good senator isn't just about having the right values or the best ideas. You have to be able to speak up for what you believe in without speaking over your colleagues who are trying to voice their own values and ideas. You have to be able to stand your ground without losing the ability to find common ground with people on the other side of the debate. In other words, you have to be tough without being a jerk. And that's not always easy. And not everyone is good at it. A lot of people show up to Senate with big brains and big egos and big plans, and wind up not getting much done because they're more interested in making a point than they are in making a difference. The truth is, there are people on both sides of the aisle who are good at being a senator, but there aren't many people on either side who are as good at it as Claire is. I'll give you an example. Everybody agrees that one of the big problems facing middle-class families is the high cost of prescription drugs. We've seen those spike in the last 4 years. Now, there are a lot of reasons why these costs have skyrocketed, and there's a lot that we Democrats want to do to bring them down. But one problem is simply that some folks in the pharmaceutical industry thought they could get away with a new kind of price gouging. Here's how it works. When you develop a drug, you get a patent granting you exclusive rights to sell it, which is how you incentivize companies to spend money to research and develop new medications. after a while, the patent expires, and other companies can develop generic versions of that drug, and that brings the price down and makes it more affordable. But a few greedy corporations realized that they could skip the part where they actually develop anything useful. Instead, they could just look for drugs whose patent had expired, but where there was no generic alternative, and buy up the rights and jack up the prices. That's what happened with Daraprim, a medication to treat a certain kind of infection. Daraprim cost $13.50 per tablet until a company named Turing Pharmaceuticals bought the rights to sell it and raised the price to $750 per tablet. Now, Turing didn't develop the drug, so it's not like they had to raise the price to recover their R&D costs. They were just using a loophole in the system to rip people off, because they could. Now, the CEO of Turing was a great guy, named Martin Shkreli. This is a real prince of a guy. But it turned out this was happening throughout the pharmaceutical market, and the reason we know that is because Claire McCaskill is in the Senate. Like the courtroom prosecutor she was before becoming a senator, Claire saw people getting screwed over by what she called the hedge fund model of drug pricing, and she decided to do something about it. But Claire isn't just tough enough in a way that scares bad guys. She's tough enough in a way that commands respect from good guys, including good Republicans, like Susan Collins from Maine. And the two of them teamed up on an investigation into these price hikes. They held a series of hearings, interviewed dozens of patients and doctors and drug company executives and other experts, reviewed more than 1 million pages of documents. That wasn't Claire and Susan, they were staff. And they came up with a bipartisan bill to respond to the crisis. The core of the idea was, let's speed up approval of generic drugs so companies like Turing can't take advantage of loopholes created by lack of competition. I thought it was a great idea, so I co-sponsored it. You know who else thought it was a good idea? Tom Cotton of Arkansas, one of the most conservative members of the Senate, and he co-sponsored it too. And as we all worked on the bill, it kept getting better, taking the best ideas from both sides. For example, I worked with Republicans on making the pharmaceutical market more transparent so that we can tell when companies are trying to pull these shenanigans in the future. And so, with Claire and Susan leading the way, the bill passed through committee, and it passed through the Senate, and it passed through the House, all with bipartisan support, and it was signed into law by President. I'm sorry. I left my body for a while. But this is what I mean about being good at the job. I know that Claire shares my values when it comes to strengthening the middle class and taking care of our veterans and making health care more affordable. And we have a lot to do, a lot more to do on pharmaceuticals. But I also know that she has what it takes to get stuff done. Get it done. Whether it's helping World War II veterans get treatment for mustard gas poisoning, or lowering the cost of hearing aids, or cracking down on sexual assault on college campuses. Nobody works harder than Claire. Nobody spends more time at town halls and at coffee shops listening to what's on people's minds. Nobody has more credibility when it comes to working across the aisle in the Senate. No one is less afraid to do what's right, even when the politics are all wrong. I wish we had more senators like her in the Democratic Party, and frankly, I really wish we had more like her in the Republican Party. And that is especially true right now. A lot of things have been changing in Washington, not in a good way, and not even in a particularly conservative way. A lot of what's happening in Washington right now has nothing to do with old debates about the proper size of government. It's just that this president and this Republican Party don't seem to have much interest in making government work at all for anyone but themselves and their friends. You know, we're here at the Truman dinner. And during my first campaign for the Senate, I talked about Harry Truman a lot. The reason was because at the time I ran, we were seeing all the waste, fraud, and abuse in the reconstruction of Iraq. Hundreds of millions of dollars being wasted on no-bid contracts or just plain stolen by contractors like Halliburton.
Yeah.
Now, as Claire said, I've been to Iraq a number of times on USO tours. I met with incredible servicemen and servicewomen whose jobs were being made harder and whose lives were being put in jeopardy because of this waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, as folks here in Missouri probably know, during World War II, in fact, starting just as the ramp up to World War II, Harry Truman had been put in charge of a special committee to prevent exactly that kind of waste, and that kind of fraud and abuse. For the war, he drove all around the country in his car to the training camps. And in Washington, he held 432 separate hearings before and during World War II to root out mismanagement and even outright theft. His investigations saved hundreds of millions of dollars and strengthened our war effort and made him a national hero. He was on the cover of Time magazine because of the Truman Committee. And this was not about politics. This was during a Democratic administration. And again, there was nothing particularly progressive about it. Harry Truman just thought that if you believe in the power of government to do important things like, secure the fate of the free world, then you should make sure that it's accountable and honest. Some folks want government to be bigger and more generous. Some folks want government to be smaller and more efficient. Nobody wants government that wastes money on no-bid contracts, or government where people in charge get to line their own pockets. at taxpayer expense, or government where no one's paying attention to make sure the programs that are supposed to help people are actually working. And if we Democrats are the ones who believe that government can actually do good things for people, whether it's winning wars in defense of freedom or making economic opportunity available to every family, then we better be tough when it comes to government oversight. And nobody in our caucus has been tougher about government oversight than Claire McCaskill. Now, as it so happens, when I was running in 2008, I was running against this guy, Norm Coleman. And Norm had been put, when he won in 2002, he had been given the chairmanship of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which is what the Truman Committee became. And the chairman of that committee, or chairwoman, is the only senator in the Senate who has sole subpoena power. And Harry Truman had been the first chair of that committee. Norm Coleman, after he won in 2002, got the chairmanship of PSI, the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. And Harry Truman, his committee during World War II held 432 hearings on waste, fraud, and abuse during World War II. Norm Coleman held 0 hearings on waste, fraud, and abuse in Iraq. And that's why I was pissed off. And so was Claire. And this is why when she was elected in 2006 and we took the majority, she was given a place on that committee. And later, she became the chair of that committee. And when she did, she cracked down. And she cracked down on corruption in Iraq and Afghanistan. Because she is really, really good at this job. So we need Claire McCaskill in the Senate right now. But you know, it's not just about right now. The senator you elect next November will serve all the way until 2024. And hopefully that'll include 4 years of a Democratic president